and welcome to the SBK Betting Podcast. Now, you guys loved our Masters pod, so we thought we'd bring back the golf specials for the remaining 2023 majors. Now, it's almost time for the PGA Championship. Second golf major begins on Thursday. It's going to be played at Oak Hill Country Club in Rochester, New York. And there's a boosted prize pot of $25 million. That's nice, isn't it? 4.5 mil to the winner. Prestigious roll of honour. Everyone wants to win. Who's on the podcast panel? I hear you ask. Now we've got myself, Tom Collins. We're joined by golf tipster and maestro Bryan Nicholson, and the office guys, Adam and Marios. Bryan, we'll start with you. How much are you looking forward to the PGA?
Well, it's not as exciting as the Masters. Obviously, we're all mad about the Masters when it's the first major of the year and all that. But yeah, all the majors by far stand out as the most popular betting events. And you know, you'd be looking as soon as the Masters is over. I'm already looking at the markets for the PGA and whatever. So researching the course, and especially if it's a new course or whatever, there's a lot of research to be done. So yeah, getting all the prep done, and yeah, excited for the week.
Now, office guys, I said in the Masters pod that the listeners could decide whether you two knew your bacon. Adam, you stepped up to the plate, I have to say, with Jon Rahm, putting him up as your number one selection, and the Spaniard won by 4 shots. Are you over that, or are you still living in the highs of Jon Rahm's success?
Yeah, fair play, Adam. Fair play.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, I suppose still living in it. Yeah. I mean, it was a phenomenal tournament. Don't forget Jordan Spieth, T4 as well, TC. But yeah, I mean, I've definitely got more and more excited about the PGA as time's gone on. I'm massively looking forward to the idea of the kind of finishing score probably being, -2, -3.
Yeah.
I love tough conditions, and yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, I definitely prefer competitions where it is -1, -2 rather than 26 under and you're thinking, guys, just birdies. Because I watch it as a person who can't even play golf really, and I'm thinking, how are these guys going around at 26 under? It's just completely demoralising. Marios, I've got a feeling the PGA is where you thrive. You're a man who loves a tough competition, and you know you are Martin Kaymer's biggest fan. People out there might not know too much about you. That is a fact for them. Kaymer's unfortunately not in the PGA this week. If he was, you would have a few loyalty quid on him, wouldn't you?
I would have a couple of loyalty pounds on him, but sadly he withdrew on Friday as a former winner. But this isn't about Kaymer. The PGA is a tough one. It'll be a lot tougher than the Masters to win. Obviously, a larger field. The weather conditions can be variable as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. And in sort of the angle that I'm looking forward to the most is probably see how the top 3 in the market get on against each other in that battle to be the world number 1. So Scheffler, Rahm, and Rory is so interesting to see how they fare.
Yeah, very much so. Now, before we get into looking at the market protagonists, take advantage of SBK's fantastic PGA Championship offer. SBK are offering money back up to £10 as free bets if Jon Rahm, Scottie Scheffler or Rory McIlroy win this week. Remember, the best odds with golf is always with SBK. Right, let's get into the action then. As I said, this tournament is being hosted at Oak Hill in New York. It's the 4th time that it's hosting the PGA. The other 3 renewals went the way of Jack Nicklaus in 1980, Shaun McKeel, a name I haven't heard of, in 2003, and the Duff Man, Jason Duffner, in 2013. Bryan, what is... the Duff Meister, even better nickname than Duff Man. What is your favourite angle when it comes to either the PGA in general or Oak Hill?
Well, it's Oak Hill specifically because it's kind of a different setup to the usual kind of, if you look at like Quail Hollow and stuff like that. I'm kind of expecting a low scoring week this week. So it was played in 2013 and there was only 21 guys finished under par. Duffner was the winner. Duffner was the Duffmeister was the only one to get to 10 under. So I think Furyk was 2 behind on 8. But what's kind of noticeable about that leaderboard, it was very kind of strategically based play, and you know the shorter kind of more accurate hitters were on it. A lot of them, but it's changed now this year. So it's been plenty of restoration the last few years. It's going to be playing longer, wider. Some of the trees were cut down, but as you said, the different conditions as well in May as opposed to August, so it's probably going to be playing quite a bit longer, as well as 250 yards or so being added to it. So it's playing par 70 this time, just under 7,400 yards, and it's like so Donald Ross designs a lot of his greens are really elevated, and this week they're surrounded by real sort of deep bunkers. So I think tee to green play here and tee to green proficiency is going to be key. So my angle is looking at the ball striking stats, which is GIR and total driving put together. So total driving and ball striking are the 2 real key metrics that I'm looking at this week. And a lot of the names that I have picked out are all over the top of those kind of stats,
Yeah, we'll definitely come to Brian's best bets later in the pod, and make sure you stick around for those. But before we get to then, let's ask the same question to the office guys. Adam, you can go first. What's your favourite angle or trend when it comes to Oak Hill or the PGA?
Yeah, Brian mentioned course setup a bit there. I suppose the thing that I always really look at here is that whilst this week is going to be super long, course setup for this tournament kind of carries on kind of fairly consistently year to year, to the point where I think 9 of the last 10 winners have previously finished sort of top 20 or higher at a US PGA. So, I mean, that's definitely one trend to be looking at. I also quite like to look at players that certainly have been playing incredibly well and have got good recent form going into sort of any major, as well as the fact that, for me, really, they probably need to be at the top end of the world golf rankings.
For sure. Some more interesting angles there. And Marius, what about for yourself?
I think for myself, the main thing is the length. I think this course is extremely long, both the par fives. There's only 2 of them are over 600 yards. So that'll be tough to reach into for a lot of the guys, if any of the guys. There are reports that it's very similar to set up to Wingfoot, which was a bit of a bomb and gouge. So someone that can get it up there and then have the strength to dig it out and get it close. And with it being so long, I think the short game and the scrambling will also be a big factor. Yeah. So anyone with a really good sort of short game will do really well, I think.
For sure. And talking about a good short game, let's get on to the 3 market protagonists. Now, once again, we're looking at the Elite 3. Scottie Scheffler, fresh off the back of a 5th place performance in the AT&T. Bryan Nicholson tops the market around 8-1 with SBK at the time of filming. His best performance in the PGA is tied 4th, which he achieved back in 2020. Brian, will Scottie win his second major this week?
He's definitely one of my 2 favourites anyway. So again, in all those key metric departments that I was looking at, it's actually Rory that doesn't really feature at all. He's like 13th in strokes gained approach, and that's about the only one he's standing out in, just in recent stats, over the last couple of months or whatever. So Scheffler he's all over all of the key metrics this week. So he's 3rd in total driving. Now these were taken just before last week's event, so they might have altered a little bit, but I don't think they've altered much anyway. But he's 1st in ball striking. He's 3rd in total driving. He's 5th in strokes gained approach. He's 1st in bogey avoidance, which is a huge stat, I think, this week, because it's a par 4 with a lot of, par 70 with a lot of par 4s and a lot of lengthy par 4s. And as the lads were saying there, it's going to be set up difficulty. There's a quote from Graham McDowell in 2013, and he was just talking about the rough base. I'll read you out the quote here. He says, he played 9 holes at Oak Hill prepping for next week's PGA Championship. The rough is brutal. Check out the length of this grass just off the 12th green. And he showed a picture, and it was just, it was very tall, shall we say. So in those kind of conditions, and when there's a lot of par 4s, bogey avoidance and a kind of a grinding, kind of low-scoring event is probably the way it's going to play out. So that's a huge stat this week as well, and another angle to look at bogey avoidance. So he's kind of been simmering, Scheffler, hasn't he, since he won the Players, really, I suppose, and the Masters top 10, RBC Heritage top 11, and just back into it. He could have easily won last week, so it's probably, I wouldn't really call last week's course a Scheffler course, really, because it turns out to be a putting contest in the end. So, but for the tough courses, he really does stand out in all the key metric departments, and I'd actually have him favourite over Rahm this week for me.
Yeah, you can never write off Scottie Scheffler no matter what tournament it is. He always seems to be bang up there at the top of the leaderboard. Second in the betting right now is Jon Rahm. He's around 17-2 with SBK. Now, much like Scottie Scheffler, his best finish in the PGA was tied 4th, although his came back in 2018. However, the 2023 Masters winner remains on the hunt for the clean sweep this season. Marius, can he take another step closer by winning the PGA?
I think he can. I think he's got an extremely strong chance this week. Like we've mentioned, he's not short on length, so that'll be fine. And when it comes to the thick rough, the grass that Brian mentioned, he's got the strength, the physical strength to dig that out. He's got that shot in him from around 100, 150 yards to get the ball close to the hole when he's in trouble, if he's in trouble. And the other thing that I would say with Rahm, there's 2 other things actually. He's got that killer instinct. So when he's in the mix, he's demonstrated this year that he can get the job done. And you could almost say that he won the Masters, I would say, sort of easing down, but he won it quite comfortably. This is going to be a different test. The other thing that I would add is when he makes an error, I mean, in years gone by, Rahm would throw clubs around and he'd lose his head. But I think he's worked hard on that. And when he does make an error, he recovers. And I seem to remember, I think he did it in the Masters, I think, when he started with a double or a triple, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah,
double at the first, and then he recovered and got his round back on track and played himself back into the tournament. So Rahm's got an extremely good chance.
So we've had 2 pros there, one for Rahm, one for Scottie Scheffler. Now third in the market. You're getting a slightly bigger price this time as well about Rory McIlroy. He's 13-1 with SBK for the PGA Championship. He was 8th for the Masters last month. So you're getting 5 points bigger for this tournament. And he's got a good resume in the PGA. You know, he's won this twice. He's got 5 other top 10 finishes. Is this going to be the solid play, Rory McIlroy?
Absolutely not. He's got no chance. Absolutely zero chance. Ben Coley wrote a piece earlier in the week pointing out that, you know, he's a member at Oak Hill, but I'd wager a decent amount of money that Rory McIlroy is a member at most golf courses in the US. You know, I don't think it matters.
Honorary member,
yeah, exactly that. I mean, the bottom line is, as I've already said, for anyone looking to win a major, you need a recent bank of strong form, of which he has zilch, nothing. And I just couldn't be with him at 12s. I couldn't be with him at 200s, to be honest with you. He's not for me. I get that, you know, from a course fit point of view, it's long and he hits the thing miles, but yeah, I just couldn't be with him at all.
Huge negative there for Rory McIlroy if you're trying to play at the reasonable price, I'd say, 13s, compared to what we saw in the Masters. So there's a run-through of the big 3, some confidence behind strong displays from Rahm and Scheffler, and negative behind Rory McIlroy. But obviously we're not going to stop there. Brian and the office guys both love to find value alternatives, much bigger prices than you're going to get for the 3 favourites. In fact, I've never seen 3 fellas more desperate to find some value than these guys. So check out the next 10 minutes because you're going to find some good bets. Right, Brian, I'm going to go to you first. Please provide your best selections this week.
So I think the best value is probably Tony Finau in around 30-1. So again, Finau kind of goes under the radar even when he's playing well. He's now eclipsed, so his expected wins is way below what it should have been. It's a new stat that's kind of out, and then a year and a half later, he's ahead of what it should be. You know, so he's just proven that the way he wasn't finishing off was really more down to variance than down to bottle or whatever, which a lot of people are kind of saying. But again, I think this course is just absolutely perfect for Finau. If you actually look at his recent form too, 26-31, a win 2 weeks ago, and then 23rd again, and then he's another win earlier in the season too. So in the models that I have, I've plugged the numbers into the model, and his progressive form rating is 9.53. So he's one of the guys most trending at the moment, upwards. And in the course fit model, he's 9.22. So if you actually put the 2 of those together, I haven't done that for the whole field, but I'd say he's pretty much top basically if you put the 2 of them together. And then if you add ability into that, he's always kind of priced higher than he should be, I feel. So if you go through a few of his stats now, so he's one who moved a little. He was second in approach last week, but now he's gone up to first. So obviously someone had might have been Scheffler actually. His approach mightn't have been great last week. So he's first now in strokes gained approach. He's 31st in scrambling. I don't have that as a huge kind of metric this week, but it will be important enough, and especially out of the bunker, in which he's 18th in sand saves actually. So that's another thing I was kind of looking at, because there are a lot of deep bunkers around these greens. Bogey avoidance, I said, was a big one. So he's 10th in bogey avoidance. He's 19th in proximity, 15th in total driving, 10th in ball striking, and he's 3rd overall in strokes gained tee to green. So Finau's absolutely ticking all the boxes this week for me, and he's a good price on top of that. So he's probably my best bet in terms of value.
Yeah, currently 30-1, Tony Finau, as you said. Who else is going to be on your shortlist this week?
So I have Xander Schauffele as well, who's a little bit shorter, I think. He's about 24 or something like that, is he?
Yeah, 27, I think, right now with SBK.
Yeah. So Schauffele, again, he's standing out in all the key stats. Even if you go back to last year, he was 4th in ball striking. But if you go to the progressive form, he's actually top of the tree. He's 10.0, can't be any better, basically. So he's the guy probably most in form at the moment. This year, he's 6th in strokes gained approach, 6th in tee to green, 17th in strokes gained putting, which is an actual improvement, I think. It's a bit people are kind of arguing around whether Scheffler is a good putter or not. But I suppose it depends what kind of stats you're looking at specifically. If you're looking at, the long putting and the short putting, but the short putting wasn't so good for me. But now altogether he is 17 in strokes gained putting. He's first in approach from 150 to 175 yards and 12th from 175 to 200 yards, which, like the Masters, could be a good stat to look at this week. Around the green, he's quite good. He's 32. He's 32nd in strokes gained around the green, 28th in scrambling, and again he's 12th in bogey avoidance. So again, if we put all those together with the price, I just think he's another very good bet this week for me. And then the third one is Patrick Cantlay, who again is 9 point. Yeah. It doesn't matter. You can just back them up. Either that or you don't like them. No.
But either I just couldn't. I couldn't have them at all. But make the case, Brian. Make the case.
Yeah, I'll make the case. Yeah. 9.8 in progressive form. But here's the one now: sometimes he's all over the place with the driver, and especially like he's long, he's deceptively long, and sometimes he's all over the place. But this year he's actually it was surprising to me too, but he's 18th in driving accuracy, and that means he's actually second in the total driving department. He's 42nd in strokes gained approach, which is he's usually a lot better than that, basically. 9th in bogey avoidance, 16th strokes gained putting, and just his recent form, he even 3rd at the Heritage, 21st Wells Fargo, kind of warming up. But what I said earlier, it's the ball strike, 3rd in ball strike. I think it was Rahm, Scheffler, and Cantlay are 3 of the top 4 in ball striking, or something, which is really, covering all the main stats or the key metrics for me this week. So they would be my three. Again, he's a decent price too. He's over 20. I wouldn't take him if he was under 20, but he's over 20, 25-ish again. And they're the 3 main ones for me. So I'm kind of big at just on the second, you might call it the second tier, just underneath the big 3. I think the next 3 guys really have 3 or 4 guys have just as much chance of winning, to be honest. Well, not just as much, but.
Yeah, so Patrick Cantlay is 26 to 1 currently. One question before I move on to the office guys' selections regarding Patrick Cantlay. Now, you're sat at home, you're watching him play. Are you put off or getting annoyed by the fact he takes 40 minutes to play a shot? Or are you a guy who just wants to see that final leaderboard?
No.
Cantlay on top?
It does my head in, but if I got money on him, he can take as long as he wants.
Yeah, exactly that.
The shuffle on the greens, the Cantlay shuffle on the greens. What do they call him? The Iceman. I have to make up a new nickname for him. So,
I wonder if that might work in his favour this week. It's a sort of course that you just want to plot your way round and
grind.
Yeah, and you know what? As much as I really dislike Patrick Cantlay, he's a good fit for that for sure.
I think what it does too, though, is it puts off his playing competitors. So that's if he's out in the final group with whatever, Scheffler and Rory on the last few, you might just really annoy them. Another thing about Cantlay is his mentality is really strong. When he gets in that position, he really wants to go for the jugular, and he has no fear, no matter who it is. I remember there was one tournament there, can't remember the course, but I think Bryson was up there too. It was a really long course 2 years ago or something, and he was battling Rahm down, and Thomas was there as well. And if you're looking at the 3 guys, you'd be thinking it was Rahm and Thomas that were trying to beat Cantlay. You know what I mean? Like he was the number 1 player. So I think he's really strong when he gets into that position. So.
Yeah, mental part is a huge factor in golf for sure, and mine completely goes after 3 holes. Marios, who are you going to be betting this week? Is Cantlay going to be in there as Scheffler, or are you looking at bigger prices?
No, neither of those actually. The couple that I picked out, and I picked them out actually last week, and the prices have collapsed a little bit. First one is Hatton. I think Hatton is having a really stellar season to date. He's very, very consistent. One of the reasons I've selected Hatton is he goes very, very well on tough courses. He's got a win at Bay Hill, which is not the easiest. He did a 3rd at Wells Fargo this year. Current form is very good. I think he got a top 10, potentially a top 6 last night as well. And the thing with Tyrrell is he's kind of fearless. So when he comes up against Rahm, Scheffler, and if he's in the mix, he won't back down. He'll keep going for his shots. He does make errors, but I think he bounces back. Temperament could be an issue. It is going to be a test. But I just think, look, if he's going to take inspiration, I think the Brits are having a terrific year this year. Rose won, Wallace has won, Fitz won last year. at the US Open as well. And I don't think it will be an unsurprising victory if Hatton followed through and got his maiden major victory. So he's probably my top tip. Last week he was 66 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the price is this week. I think it's collapsed a little bit, 55. So it's come in a little bit. So he'd be my number one tip.
Cool. And where are you going for number 2?
The other one is Jason Day, and that's not due to what he did yesterday, which has been a long time coming.
I can testify to this, by the way. Marios was absolutely
he was
effusive in his support for Jason Day last week. So
I've had the old golf tipsters week early syndrome this week. Look, he won yesterday, but like I said, it has been coming. He's not short on length. He's got good form all year. His short game is fantastic. So if it comes down to sort of around the green skills, he's terrific. And when he does get his eye in terms of tournament victories, he can be prolific as well. So the fact that he won yesterday, I don't think it will deter him going sort of back to back. I really like Jason Day.
Yeah, so Jason Day's 30 to 1. Now, interesting question I've got on the back of that. And one word answer from all three of you. If you're tipping a golfer who won last week, are you put off backing them again to go back to back? Adam first.
I can't give you one word answer, basically.
Is it yes or a no?
It's a no, but I think Jason Day's the exception.
Okay, Maris is obviously...
It'd be a no. It'd be a no for me.
Brian, what about yourself?
To be honest, I don't think it makes a difference. It's just really hard to win a golf tournament. So, you know what I mean? Probability is probability. The only thing that can kind of put him is if he's doing a lot of interviews and he's tired and whatever. Or, of course, if he went out for a few drinks and that kind of thing. But I don't think he'd be doing that the week ahead of a major. But in general, I say, you know, if you actually just do the maths on it and you were even like a guy at 30 to 1 and then 30 to 1 again next week, you're talking 1,000 to 1 to win the two tournaments together. So, no, I don't think it makes too much difference, to be honest. It's just really, really hard to win a golf tournament, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely a punter's fallacy. I know that people in horse racing, football, etc. think that teams or an individual cannot go back to back, but it's definitely complete rubbish. Talking of individuals going back to back, you tipped up the Masters winner. Can you make it 2 from 2 in majors this year?
What a segue that was.
Fantastic.
Amazing. Award-winning.
Hit us with your selections, please, Adam.
Yeah. Matt Fitzpatrick is probably the leading selection. He was so frustrating at the beginning of the year, and I was really hopeful that he'd just have a kind of breakout season. But he's turned the corner, won the RBC. And then I watched sort of a course video of the setup this year. I think it was the Fried Egg podcast or YouTube channel that did it. And looking at the holes, it felt like Brookline on steroids. Just a lot longer, obviously, but thick rough, tricky bunkers, a massive premium on approach and scrambling from the sand. This is Matt Fitzpatrick. Mm-hmm. This is him all over. He's got recent major form, T10 at Augusta, which was awesome. That's prior to the Heritage. Like I say, he's 13th in scrambling from the thick stuff on tour. He's just, for me, he's a good course fit. And again, just looking at it, it felt like the right way to go. The other one, I was going to say from the top of the market, I was stunned that he's available around 40s, is Max Homa. I think people are massively preoccupied with this guy winning the US Open because it's at LACC and it's a home game. He's a sneakily good course fit for Oak Hill. Top 20 in total driving, top 10 in strokes gain approach, top 10 in putting. And again, a bit like Fitzy, he had a few weeks in the wilderness. I think people were probably expecting a bit more, but he came back to form at Wells Fargo, finishing 8th. He's definitely failed to live up to his billing at majors, and I'll accept that. But he's going to break through at some point. And for everyone that thinks it's going to be at LACC, why not? Why not now? And I've got 2 for you at bigger prices, and you can hurl some abuse at me if you want. Russell Henley is one. This is mainly built off the fact that he's just got tremendous form at Donald Ross courses. Not a Wyndham Championship goes by at Sedgefield without him sort of being there or thereabouts. He's also got some decent performances at the Detroit and in the Rocket Mortgage. He's first on tour for driving accuracy, and the guy finished T4 at Augusta. He's there and he's having a phenomenal season. I mean, it's triple figure price TC.
Yeah, 230 to 1 right now.
I think that's a cracking each way bet. I can see him being there or thereabouts on Sunday. And the other one, similar sort of line of thinking, got excellent form at Donna Ross courses. He's won a Rocket Mortgage. That's Cam Davis. He's 13th on tour for strokes gained off the tee, 15th in driving distance. You're getting what, 500?
500, the big 500.
500 to 1, right, for a player with those numbers who he was T6 of the players and he finished 10th at the RBC a few weeks ago. That's bonkers. I think you've got to be on board at that price.
Yeah, so quick recap there of prices. Matt Fitzpatrick, 35. Max Homer's 50. He's currently with SBK.
Wow.
Big price. Russell Henley, 230 to 1, and Cam Davis at a whopping 500 to 1. Now, we've covered virtually every golfer in this year's PGA Championship, so hopefully you've got a few pointers along the way. It's been a bit of an in-depth preview so far. There are still a couple of bets to come, and we'll come to those very shortly. But before we do, I'm just going to chuck Jordan Spieth's name out there because I've made a loyalty bet with myself that I'm going to back him in every single major this year. Hopefully he'll win one of them, but I'll also back him in top 5 and top 10 as well. He's a guy I just love to watch. He's got all the talent in the world. Yes, he can be a bit wayward, but he's a fair price, and Spieth is my guy, so I'm going to stick with him. As I've said before in the Masters pod, I am not the sharpest golf mind here, I have to say, but Jordan Spieth is my guy.
Spieth was actually big time on my radar too until he went out with the wrist injury last week, and again, it wasn't in the stats. It was more from what I was seeing at the RBC Heritage, which is the tightest course on tour, basically. And he was driving it brilliantly, and he was playing strategically. He was using left hand driver when he needed to, and his caddy was getting involved in that. And we all know what he's like from just persistency and coming back from nowhere and grinding is the word. Yeah. So, but I was actually thinking with the injury, that he was going to drift, and he is. I'm watching the market. He's really drifting at the moment. So the bigger he gets, he's probably going to be a guy I'll get on towards the end of the week, maybe. Just especially on the exchange, he's just going to drift and drift. So he's definitely one on my radar too. Yeah.
Just to add to that, given the new structure on the PGA Tour this year, where there are sort of fines imposed for not turning up at certain events, you might not want to read too much into that wrist injury.
No, that's what I was thinking as well.
Exactly.
You never know with Jordan in general, do you? You never know. He's a guy that could one day turn up and shoot 59 or a 60, and the next day turn up and shoot 74. But hopefully it's more the 59s this week.
But you just know anytime anything like that comes out, you just see it in the market. Just like straight away, It just goes up. So I'm like, very nice.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about value, as we talk about on every one of our podcasts at SBK. Right, I'm going to chuck a few minor markets out there. First round leader, top in region, top debutant. Guys, have you got any selections? We'll start with you, Adam.
I suppose we should talk about first round leader just purely. We haven't seen the draw, right, first off, so can't offer any selections up. But looking at the weather forecast, it looks very, very cold on Thursday. And given how long the course is, I wouldn't want to be with anyone drawn early. So look at the afternoon wave on Thursday. Friday's weather looks fine. Saturday there's rain coming. So yeah, that afternoon wave I think is probably the way to play the FRL. I've got 2 top debutant market. I think Taylor Moore's a cracking bet. He's got great course form around Donald Ross courses. He's been in great form since winning the Valspar. He's been 12th on tour in putting, 16th for scrambling, which is obviously going to be massively important given the setup of the rough this week and the state of some of those renovated bunkers. And the other one I like is probably in the top South Korean market, which will just be Tom Kim versus Sung Jae Im. I'm with Tom Kim all day long. Sung Jae took a bit of a weird trip back to South Korea last week to go and win a tournament there. I wouldn't fancy the kind of sharp turnaround on a flight back to New York after that. So I think whatever price Tom Kim is there, you have all of that. He's also got some fantastic form at Donna Ross courses, at Wyndham specifically. So yeah.
Yeah, a few pointers there for first round leader and top South Korean. Just to mix those together, last week Adam did back Sung Yeol No in the AT&T Byron Nelson, who did manage to get first round lead. However, unfortunately, he fell through the back of the TV and eventually finished high 74. So make that what you will. Marius, do you have any minor market bets?
The only one that I would say, just following on from the weather angle that Adam touched on, and similar to what I think Brian raised at the Masters, is going to be extremely cold in mornings. I think there's reports that it could be something like 10 degrees, 12 degrees or something in the mornings. And maybe some of the bookies that put up sort of first round scores, maybe going on the overs, depending on the draw. First couple of days could be some value there. Scoring will be better in the afternoons, probably not by much, but the mornings will be a tough test.
Yeah, Brian, when we did the Masters pod, you did mention this, that you were playing some ACCAs with first round scores. You posted them all over your Twitter as well, and they were pretty successful, weren't they?
Yeah, I think 20 out of 25 won or something like that. So, and they were all averaging around even. So yeah, they actually did set the lines probably on average 1.2 shots too high, and that was all just to do with the lack of wind and the soft conditions. So they based the prices on fast and firm conditions from the previous. And yeah, I thought that there was 30 matches. I picked 25 of them, and 20 of them or 21 of them even won. So yeah, it was about a 66% return on investment on that. So there's always angles like that you can look for. Yeah.
Are you going to be playing those markets this week? And if not, or if you are, what other minor market bets do you have for us?
I haven't really looked at any of that yet. I'll probably do a bit of that this week. But just for in general, for if you want to look at like top live guys or first round leader, high prices, or sort of top 20s or stuff like that. So Brendan Steele is one I mentioned early. So he's always someone that comes to my mind on what I call like total driving courses. I actually call him a poor man's Keegan Bradley. If you look at their two kind of records on all the courses, they're quite similar. They look similar. They play similar. And he's a huge odds this week. And I was just looking at him there on the he's kind of simmering since he went to live. But before he went there, last year he was 8th in ball striking. I think he's 11th in total driving this year before he went to live. So there you go, to the total driving stat again there. He has a sort of... he's well known for starting fast and going low. I don't know how many FRLs he has, but it's quite a few places as well. And he actually had a top 10 in the PGA Championship last year. So I think he could be one to look at again. I haven't looked at the draw myself this year or this week. So I usually kind of wait a little. I like to wait till Tuesday or Wednesday to see the weather forecast. But he's definitely one I might get inside in some of the sub markets. And then another one, outright and in kind of sub markets, would be Adam Scott. Again, none of the stats really point for everything, but just if you look at Riviera would be the best kind of course to look at this for Adam Scott. So I call it like a kind of Grand National course where tee to green play just wears everyone down on over 4 rounds, and the more rounds he plays, if you had him for 10 rounds, let's say against an elite field at Riviera, he probably destroyed them a lot of the time. And I think this is a similar kind of setup. And just watching him last week, and I think they said something about he still wanted to put it up to the young guys and show them how to play. And the stats last week were good, obviously. His recent form is quite good. So he's tied 8th at Bryan Nicholson. He was 5th at the Wells Fargo, so that's a big one. If you're top 5 in that kind of field. And he hasn't really got to finish worse than 40th in his last handful of events. So, yeah, I think Scott could be really one to watch, and off the radar kind of one to watch as well in various markets this week. Even if you want to go top Aussie, I haven't seen the prices for that, but he probably wouldn't be favoured in that. And there's a fair few Aussies now, so yeah, it might be something worth looking at as well. Yeah.
Superb stuff. Thank you very much, Brian. Now, if we're not celebrating a winner by the end of the PGA Championship, then something's gone extremely wrong, given we put out virtually every...
Sacked, we'd be all sacked.
Yeah, well, exactly that. But I'm sure we will be celebrating lots of success. Now, before we head off, a reminder of SBK's brilliant PGA Championship offer. Money back as a free bet up to £10 if Jon Rahm, Rory McIlroy or Scottie Scheffler wins the PGA Championship this week. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe down below. We'll be back for the US Open and the Open as well later in the season. Best of luck with all your bets at home and the office, guys, and to you as well, Brian. Enjoy the PGA Championship. Until then, bye-bye.